Greetings, I am Zanae Mangum, Miss Prairie A&M University. This HBCU, a Carnegie Research II University, Prairie A&M University, occupies a unique space in African American history. From its founding on a former slave plantation here in Texas to a first-class, highly recognized university is a story of perseverance. It is the true story of a people who were brought here, fought here, and continue to excel and innovate despite circumstances. This evening, we are honored to welcome you to this opportunity to celebrate not only the trials and tribulations, but also to witness the hope, the love, and the resilience of a people whose very lives and culture shall not be denied. Negro History Week, which eventually became Black History Month, recognizes the central role of African Americans in U.S. history. This year's theme is African American writers, musicians, and artists, stimulators and agitators of the pursuit of social justice. This evening, we have in our midst a prize-winning writer, Nikki Giovanni.
Black artistic expression has been an integral part in the pursuit of Black liberation. Runaway slaves were guided to the promised land by Negro spirituals. Phyllis Wheatley, the first Black woman to publish a book in the United States, used her poetry to highlight America's hypocrisy during the Revolutionary War. Zora Neale Hurston, author and anthropologist, used her writing to collect and preserve the legacy of Southern Black people, despite those who deem rural Black culture as primitive. Hip-hop exposed the failure of the United States to correct the human rights violations that legislated inferiority onto Black Americans, a demographic whose imprint on the social justice zeitgeist is documented in every revolutionary, reform, or progressive movement that has slowly made positive change in this country. Black artists have had the blessing and borne the burden of speaking Black truth on our behalf. If the strange fruit did not say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud, we would not have the tenacity to fight the power while ego tripping along the way. During Black History Month and beyond, Prairie A&M University seeks to enlighten all people of the rich culture and traditions cultivated by African Americans. This evening's program gives us a rare opportunity to walk with the legendary Nikki Giovanni through aspects of the life that led her to publish the now 50-year-old album of music and poetry, The Truth Is On Its Way.
I knew how it would feel to be free. I wish I could break all the chains holding me. Well, I wish I could say all the things that I should say. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear, for the whole wide world to hear.
I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart and remove all the bars that keep us apart. And I wish you could know how it feels to be me. Then you'll see and agree that everyone should be free.
I wish I could give all I'm longing to give, and I wish I could live like I'm longing to live. I wish I could do all the things that I can do. Though I'm way overdue, I'd be starting anew. how sweet it would be if I found out I could fly. I would soar to the sun and look down at the sea. And I sing because I know, and I sing because I know, and I sing because I know how it feels to be free, to be free, to be
Serendipity? Maybe. But I choose otherwise. That same power of promise that has brought Prairie View A&M University and many HBCUs from threatened annihilation due to long-term disparate treatment to growing prominence is the same power of promise at work that led us to have as our president, Dr. Ruth J. Simmons, led us to receive the largest gift ever from Ms. Mackenzie Scott, philanthropist and former student at Princeton of none other than Toni Morrison, and having the stars align so that none other than the legendary Nikki Giovanni would accept our writing committee's invitation to become our inaugural Toni Morrison Writing Program's Writer in Residence. Grounded in storytelling of our mother's stories and other senior family members, being educated at HBCU, Fisk University, stepping into the arena of the civil rights movement, searching to make meaning in a world in which racism and sexism seem to permeate every aspect of American life, using writing to authentically explore the mosaic of human expression, bringing her talent and treasure trove of literary masterpieces was the Nikki Giovanni, holder of 7 NAACP Image Awards, the Carl Sandburg Literary Award for distinguished contributions to arts and letters, and the first Rosa Parks Women of Courage Award. We're ecstatic. Can't you see it? This phenomenal writer and activist is our writer in residence. The PVAMU students are learning how writing can give power to voice as they seek to become fully educated future leaders. I invite you to receive Ms. Giovanni as she speaks in the only way she knows, that is unabashedly and authentically in her pursuit of social justice. I thank her. I thank the audience. Hear the remarkable Nikki Giovanni.
This is not a poem. This is hot chocolate at the beginning of spring, topped with hand-whipped doubled cream, a splash of brandy to give it sass, and just a little cinnamon to give it class. This is not a poem. This is a summer quilt, log cabin pattern. See the corner piece? That was grandmother's wedding dress. That was grandpapa's favorite Sunday tie. That white strip there is the baby who died. Mama had pneumonia, so the red flannel shows the healing. This does not hang from a museum wall, nor will it sell for thousands. This is here to keep me warm. This is not a sonnet, though it will sing. Precious Lord, take my hand. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Go down, Moses, way down to the past, way up to the future. It will swell with the voice of Marian Anderson, lilt on the Aryan of Leontine, dance on the trilling of battle, do the dirty dirty with Bessie, wrap its way into the 90s, and go on into space with Etta James saying, at last, no. This is not a sonnet, but the truth of the beauty that the only authentic voice of planet Earth comes from the Black soil, tilled and mined by the daughters of the diaspora. This is a rocking chair, rock me gently in the bosom of Abraham. This is a bus seat. No, I'm not going to move today. This is a porch where they sat spitting at fireflies, telling young Alex the story of the African. This is a hook rug to cover a dirt floor. This is an iron pot with pork simmering chitlins, surprising everybody with our ability to make a way out of no way. This is not rest when we are weary, nor comfort when we are confused, nor when we are sad. It is laughter when we are in pain. It is, never mind, when we are confused. It is keep climbing, child, when the road takes a dark turn. Don't let nobody turn you around when the way is dark. It is the faith of our mothers who plaited our hair, put Vaseline on our faces, polished our rundown shoes, patched our dresses, wore sweaters so that we could wear coats, who welcomed us and our children when we were left alone to rear them, who said, get your education and nobody can put you back. This is not a poem, no. It is a celebration of the road we have traveled. I don't know what happened. Jeffrey, do you know what happened? I did that. You're touching the keyboard. Oh, I'm sorry. This is not a poem, no. It is a celebration of the road we have traveled. It is a prayer for the roads yet to come. This is an explosion, the original Big Bang that makes the world a hopeful, loving place. This is the Black woman and all our trouble and glory and all our past history and future forbearance and all that ever made love a possibility. This is about us, bleached and natural, braided and straightened hair, made up or beaten up faces, tall, short, stately, bent, CC riders, junkies, whores, wives, mothers, grandmothers, aunts, working on the home or outside, working in the system or outside, working, praying, working to survive, giving pride, giving succor, giving voice, giving encouragement, giving whatever we had to give. This is a flag we place over Peter Salem and Peter Poor, the 54th Regiment from Massachusetts, all the men and women lynched in the name of rape, Emmett Till, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr. This is a banner we fly for respect, dignity, the assumption of integrity for a future generation to rally around. This is about us celebrating ourselves, and a well-deserved honor it is. Light the candles. This is a rocket. Let's ride. And I apologize for whatever happened. I'm not good at that. I love that poem so much because it is about the Black woman. And we are here celebrating a great Black woman, Toni Morrison. And as we did that, I wanted to go back into the history, not the history of when she was created or what she did, but the history of what the Black woman has done. And we have built a nation on our back. We have smiled when we were tired. We have laughed when we were hurt. But we have begun, we have continued to build. And I wanted to celebrate also with Prairie View A&M. I can't tell you how pleased I am that I was invited to join the Prairie View family. I am a Fisk University graduate, and now I am allowed to be a part of the Prairie View A&M family. We in the HBCUs have now taken another step forward, as the Vice President of the United States is an HBCU graduate. And even though she is, which we don't mind, an AKA, we are looking forward to her recognizing the importance of the Delta Sigma Thetas. Because if the 19 women of Delta had not decided that they would break apart from our mother's sorority and march behind those white women, we know that Susan B. Anthony was an old-fashioned racist, and she said, I am not going to march with Black women. She said that because she wanted white women to be on her side. But the Deltas understood, we who became Deltas, we understood that it was more important to march than where we march. And so we got behind so that our voices could be heard. And as we are now watching places like our institutions, such as, I should say, Prairie View, such as Fisk, such as Howard, such as Spelman, such as Morehouse, as we watch, and these are just to name a few, Tuskegee, Tougaloo College, as we watch these bring our voices up. Our voices are so important. I cannot say again or too often. Those of us who are 18 who can vote must vote. Do not sit there and tell yourself it doesn't matter. If it didn't matter, they wouldn't stop you from trying to do it. You must vote. If you have to stand in line, as we watched in Detroit, Michigan, on a cold and rainy day, we watched women 80 years old stand there because they said, I want to vote. Your vote is important. It's very important that you let people know I am a citizen. And it's important that we who are parts of this community, parts of the United States of America, it's important that we recognize that America is a part of the global community. We are a part of planet Earth. And it's so easy to forget that all that matters is what we are doing. What matters now is the future. What matters now is not even our children, but our grandchildren. What matters is that we are going to go into the galaxy. This is a rocket, and we will ride. For those of you, because you're in Texas, because you're there near Houston, because you're watching what we're doing with NASA, we're watching them ask Black women, will you consider becoming a part of NASA? Because we know that whatever is going to happen in the galaxy is going to be Black women who are going to open their arms to whatever life form. I will remind us all, whatever is alive in the galaxy is not an alien, because we live here on Earth with aliens. Donald Trump and his group are aliens. Hitler was an alien. People who have lynched us were aliens. What is in outer space is another life form, and we must find a way to embrace and understand them. You say, well, how are we going to do that? How are we going to talk to somebody who probably doesn't speak English or any of the European or African languages that we know? How will we do that? I would suggest that we take a saxophone, because there's nothing as wonderful as the sound of an alto sax. I would suggest we take the saxophone and we go out into space and we make a song from one of the spirituals that we say, we are leaning on the everlasting arms, or that we say, swing low, sweet chariot, that we blow a song, because we know when we were brought here to America, how do we communicate with each other? Through song. And that song has gone all over planet Earth. That song is now what you hear every place. It is incredible that we, a Black community, have made our voice the voice of planet Earth, and we go forward. I think it's a wonderful thing. I am so pleased to be a part of this. Toni Morrison is one of our most brilliant writers, but we also know that the people we don't know were brilliant writers. The people who after dinner, after working all day in the fields, came in and sat down after dinner. They sat down and sang to each other. We don't know who created those. We know there are about 1,000 spirituals, but we don't know who created them. We know that they were created by the people who were finding a way to communicate, to say that no matter what, I've been buked and I've been scorned. I've been talked about sure as I'm born, but I ain't gonna lay my religion down. And that's a very, very powerful statement, that we're not gonna let anybody take away the comfort that our God has given us. I am not here this evening to tell you which God should give you comfort. I'm saying whichever one it does, you have to keep it, because that's what got us 200 years of coming through these crazy people we live with. We have tried to civilize them, but mostly we have made sure that they did not make savages out of us. We will not perhaps change the world. Maybe that is not what we can do, but we know we are not going to let the world change us. We are not going to become something that we don't want to be. We're not going to become something that is embarrassing. We're not going to become something that steals from churches, that blows churches and little girls up, that beats up 14-year-old boys to the fact that you can't see their faces. We're not going to become something that shoots people unarmed, Black men and women, in the back. We're not going to become that. We're not going to be what we know is not to be. We are going to read, we're going to write, we're going to sing, we're going to paint. I'm so proud that Edmona Lewis is on a stamp this month. And it's so wonderful because she made such beautiful, her sculpture was so beautiful that people would say, those savages we live with would say, oh, she couldn't be Black because it's too beautiful. We knew that beauty comes from us, that's what we do, no matter how difficult it is, beauty comes from us. Is there a reason that television is on? People are crazy. Can you hear that? I hope it doesn't bother you because it's bothering me. But I just wanted to share this evening with you at this point. Black history is an important part of the history of the world, not just American history, because American history is fighting to be a part of the world. But we are a major part of what the North Atlantic is. And we must keep that in mind. We must be proud of it. And we must be proud of each other. We must always try to find a way to stay with and be with each other. That's what is important. And that's why we have you in college. That's why we want you to be educated. We want you to remember that you're being educated, not because you are uneducated and that you come from uneducated people. You come from undegreed people, and you have to remember that. Those of us who were enslaved, our ancestors were enslaved, but they were not ignorant, they were undegreed. And you must always remember that. And the degree that you get, the degree when you walk across that stage and they call your name, at the end of it, you throw that hat up. Did you ever stop to think, why are you throwing the hat up? Why are you taking your hat off and throwing it up? You're throwing it up to the heavens for the people who are sitting up in heaven saying, see, my baby graduated. You're throwing it up to your great grandmother, and they're sitting up in heaven smiling at you saying, see what my baby did? That's why you're doing things. You're not in college for any other reason but to show those people 200 years ago, yeah, I can do this. I'm here for you. And that's what Black history teaches us. We are here for each other. And it's very, very important that we keep that in mind. It's very important that we keep our hearts in mind. Keep it in mind who it is we owe something to. And we owe our ancestors because they fought to get us here. They fought for Prairie View. They fought for Fisk. They fought to get you into a quiet place that you could think, that you could dream, that you could hope for. So you must do that. You answer not to any of these people. You're not looking for a job. You're not at A&M because you can get a job. You are at A&M so that those people sitting in heaven can say, that's my baby. Because any job that you're going to get, they're going to teach you what they want you to learn. You know that already. Whatever you do, you know that. You are there for those people sitting in heaven being proud of you. And that's something that Black history should always teach you and that you should always remember. Thank you.
Ms. Giovanni, how are you?
I'm fine.
I just want to thank you sincerely from the faculty at PVAMU University. I was a part of the group last semester that got your book, A Good Cry. And my students and I can see it fading out because of the background I have. But my students and I had some very in-depth conversations about some of the content in your book. And I want to read a short haiku that you wrote in the book, a haiku for Mars. The man in the moon smiles, the men on Mars dance, the shadows of lonely love, of lonely, lonely, lonely love. And so we were just going back and forth, and so how in depth and insightful that was. And I want to ask you, what type of mentally, what type of creative space were you in when you wrote this group of poems, and kind of tell us where your inspiration derived from. In this book, you have a couple of poems dedicated to Maya Angelou and others. And so I want you to kind of talk to us about that.
Well, thank you. A Good Cry is a book that came out of, actually, my mother died in June, and my sister died in July. My aunt died in August. But also, I lost a good friend, Maya, and I was invited. In terms of my family, of course, I came from being the baby in the family to being the eldest. And it's really funny for those of us who are with me today, this evening, who are babies in the family. You're used to having to, your older sister or your brother, they're always telling you what to do. And then all of a sudden people are calling you. I have a cousin, and, she's calling me, saying, well, what should we do about? And I'm thinking, oh, I'm now the elder, so I have to make those adjustments. Maya was a good friend. And I wanted to share, because I was asked by several different people to write something about it. But Maya and I had an argument. We didn't have many, but we had one. And I thought, I need to write about that so that the young writers are realizing that, one, you can write about the same subject several times in different ways. There are many different things that go on. And everything isn't like, oh, it was all so wonderful. You have arguments with friends, and I wanted to do that. But I wrote A Good Cry because like a lot of, if I may, like a lot of Black women, I did my job. I did what had to be done. So I didn't have time to cry. I didn't have time to mourn, or I didn't have time to do anything but bury people and see to it that it was properly done. And I had a bit of a stroke. And when I did, it's okay. I mean, I'm as okay as I ever. I'm still crazy. But when I did, my doctor was saying, one of your problems is, you're pushing yourself too much. And of course, if you're a Black person, they always say you eat too much salt. So it's like, you have to cut back on yourself. And I said, his name is Gregory. I said, Gregory, I think that my problem is I'm holding things in. I haven't learned to cry. And he said, well, I don't think so. I said, well, I do. And since, you're the MD and I'm the PhD, but I think I'm right about this. I think that what I need to do is to learn to cry, to let things out. But Toni Morrison was a dear friend. And I talked to Toni because Toni also had her own issues. And I called Toni one day. I was just feeling bad, to tell you the truth. And I called Toni, and I must have just rattled on. Toni's very patient with me, and I with her, so it's fair enough. But I must have talked to her like half an hour, 40 minutes. And she finally said, well, Nick, I have to go. I think she was just like, I'm tired of it. She said, Nick, I have to go. And I said, well, Toni, I just, I'm really not sure what to do. She said, write. That's what you have to do. You have to write. And she was correct. I did need to write. And that's what I sat down and started to do. And I also learned to cry. So now I'll cry. I saw a squirrel get hit on the street the other day, and it was just like, oh no, who killed that, squirrel? My neighbor up the street drives too fast. And I said, you murdered a squirrel. And he said, I don't murder squirrels. You ran over it, that's murder. And so he did murder the squirrel. He needs to go slower, because we know the squirrel, we all know, you all have squirrels in Texas, don't you? I know you've got a lot of little rodents, but squirrels, run and then they stop and look around and go the other way. And so if you see a squirrel, you have to almost stop to see which way is it going to go, because you don't want to run over, you don't want to kill it. But it's that kind of thing. So I'm learning to let my emotion out a little bit more, because so many, and I think it's true, if I were running a poll with the A&M students, I'll bet you anything that most of them will say that they hold their emotions in. And I know men do. I have a son, and I know men hold their emotion in. They just don't. But men should cry too. Men forget that. They should cry too. And one of the things that I keep pointing out, and I will point out to all of you, men also get breast cancer. It's one of the things that they should cry, and they should have their breast checked, because men get breast cancer and they'll die before they admit, oh, I have breast cancer. They won't have don't do anything about it. I just thought I'd mention that, because it does happen. You got to take care of yourself. And so one of the things that A Good Cry did was to release a lot of the emotion. And that's what I was doing with that book. And I wanted to share my relationship with a couple of people, especially Maya. I just got the quarter, by the way. I had ordered them, and I think it's really ugly. I don't know if you've seen the Maya Angelou quarter, but it's truly ugly. I don't know why. I don't know why they put George Washington of all people on the front of Maya Angelou's quarter. I mean, was somebody on drugs? I mean, what were they doing? they should have put Paul Laurence Dunbar on the front of Maya Angelou's quarter, because she took and used, and I'm so glad she did, her line, "I know why the cage birds sing," is from Dunbar. And that would have been a quarter worth keeping. That would have been something wonderful. Then everybody wants to forget about Dunbar, who was from Ohio. Maya, of course, is a Mississippian. And Mississippi has produced a number of incredible Black people. They like to talk about, Faulkner and them, but when you think about who has come out, Oprah, for one, Maya, for another, a woman that we're now trying to make sure she gets her honorary doctorate degree, Val Gray Ward, who now lives in Chicago, but Val is a Mississippian. Of course, Maya, Margaret Walker, Alice Walker, you have so many great people, so many great Black people who, even in Mississippi, decided they were going to make something. And of course, one of the greatest women of all, the greatest Mississippians of all, is Fannie Lou Hamer.
Yes, ma'am.
Who I was talking about voting, but if Mrs. Hamer had not gone, she created the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. They went in 1964 to the Atlantic City Convention of the Democrats, demanded their right to be seated as opposed to the segregationist people who were. And if you recall, Lyndon Johnson said to her, because he was trying to balance it out, he's a politician, "Well, let me give you 2 seats and we'll work it out in 60, that was 64, we'll work it out in 66 and we'll see." And I always loved Miss Hamer for that. And she said, and I quote, "We didn't come here for no 2 seats." And she got on the bus with her people and went back to Mississippi. We know that when they crossed the Mississippi line, they stopped that bus, took her off, and we know that she was badly, badly beaten. We know that. And I always said, if there was any piece of me alive, any piece of a hand, my liver, I think that the liver is the last thing that dies in your body, if I'm not mistaken. And I said that to my son. If my liver is still just there, take it and let it vote, because Mrs. Hamer went through a lot. Voting is important. And I just can't begin to, it's very hard to explain to the kids right now, because they say, "Oh, nobody cares what I think." And, they're pouting. And we've gone through way too much to pout. The struggle for freedom continues.
Yes, ma'am. You made mention of the sophisticated layers of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and their origins, and gave us a primer on that earlier. Should the label feminist be applied to you?
I'm not good with those kind of labels. I am a member of Delta. I'm an honorary member. My mother was a Delta, and my sister and my aunts, everybody, all the women in my family are Deltas. But I came along in the civil rights movement, and so we were kind of busy. And I was very pleased when Lillian Bimbo was president of Delta. She said, "You ought to be a Delta." And I said, "Well, Lillian, I'm kind of old to be standing online." She said, "Well, we'll work out something else." And I am very proud to be a member of Delta Sigma Theta, because I think that what we have done has changed. That doesn't say, I don't want to be misunderstood, because the AKs will be upset with me, and the Zetas will be upset with me. And I don't want, they've all done well, but we are the civil rights people. That if somebody's doing something, it's usually going to be the Deltas. And I remember when Gene Noble was president of Delta Sigma Theta, we all, whatever the president tells you to do, you just do it, because there's no point in having a discussion. And I remember Gene called and said, "We have to go to Texas." Came to Houston. I said, "Okay, why?" She said, "We have to work for Barbara Jordan. We have to be sure that she is elected." And there was nothing else to say. It was, okay, when do we need to be there? And I'm not the only one. We all flew down to Houston and worked for Barbara Jordan. And of course, Barbara Jordan rewarded us with with getting rid of Richard Nixon. And we needed Barbara when we got stuck with Donald Trump. So again, there's a lot to be proud of, because people don't know that. I think, and this is me now, I think that Kamala Harris, who is an AKA, owes her AKA sisters a tea party or something on the lawn at the vice president. No, I just think she does. I don't think that she should. I don't think that she's paid enough attention to the Divine Nine, who in fact helped get them elected. And I think that I don't know what Joe Biden's going to do, because Joe Biden is just Joe Biden, and the hell with that. But Kamala is a part of a sorority, and she is a part of the Divine Nine. And I think that she should do something to let America know that she is proud to be a part of the Divine Nine. That she should invite not just her sisters, or AKA sisters, but of course her brothers, or Alpha Kappa Alpha brothers, because that was Martin Luther King, and look at what they did. And so when you look at that, now I'm not going to be surprised that she's not going to have, all of the Delta or somebody, but she ought to invite her brothers and sisters on the White House, on the vice presidential lawn, and have a really lovely, champagne and a really nice tea party to let everybody know I stand with these people, because the people that she's trying to impress are not impressed by her.
Yes. I want to express to you our sincere appreciation from last semester, and I want to go back to my students, because you don't know the impact you had on them. They were raving and buzzing as we got back to class, and they received a copy of your book. And you being our inaugural writer in residence, they came with so many questions after they were reading your work. And so I was thinking about this do you have any ideas about ways HBCUs can groom future generations of focused, determined, productive graduates who can lead change and reduce and eliminate issues around social justice?
Well, I think the first thing that you have to remember, and I tried to say that the reason I started with the poem is called Star Date. But the reason I started with that poem is the first thing you have to remember is not to let the world change you. And that's what has happened to some people. And I regret that. You can't be impressed with people who dislike you. It can't be. You have to work with the people, and you have to love the people who love you. That's, if you ever saw my conversation with Jimmy Baldwin, and it was such a pleasure. I couldn't believe Mr. Baldwin would actually talk to me. There are 20 years difference between Jimmy and me. And I was so pleased that he did. And as we talked, I was just trying, he's James Baldwin and I'm not. And I just wanted to not be, stupid and embarrassing. And we got to a point, though, in the conversation, I said, he was saying, how difficult it was to be a Black man. And I said, no, Jimmy. I didn't say Jimmy, he was Mr. Baldwin then. It's difficult to be who I am, because I'm the one who loves you. And yet you go out to work and smile at a white man who hates you, and come home and hit me, who's trying to love you. And if you look at Jimmy's face, you'll see it, because he never thought about it that way. You have to make up your mind who you're going to love, who you're going to smile at, and who you're going to frown. You just have to. You have to make a decision. And I think that what I'm trying to say with just the work that I do, I just try to be honest. I'm not trying to be a leader. And so you don't ever see me standing in front of people telling them what they ought to do, because I don't know what they ought to do. I'm just a poet. But I think that as a writer, what I will do is share what I can share. And I believe in the people, and I believe that the people will make the right decision. I don't think that people are stupid, and I don't think that people are cowardly. I don't think that people have made mistakes, because we haven't come from 1619 to 2022. We could not have been here if we had been making mistakes. Now, some other people may not like what they see, and some other people may wish that it was quicker, or whatever it is people may wish. And I'll say it again, the voice of planet Earth is the voice of Black America. So you can go to China, they are rapping in China. You can go, they are, you can go all over South America, because of course there's so many, the slavery situation went that way. So we have so much of the sound, but we listen to the music of all of the Brazil, the music of the Brazilians. It's our music. I think it's just wonderful that having come through everything we've come through, we still have a voice. And having come through everything we've come through, we still found a way. I have in my home, I only have 2 copies of it because they're difficult to find. We did a thing called the cake walk. You probably have heard of the cake walk, I'm sure. And the cake wasn't even that sweet, but the cake walk was a big deal. You know, you got dressed up and you had this dance. And nobody understood how, with all that was going on, these enslaved people found a way to say, no, I'm going to not only bring a song, but I'm going to bring a dance with it. So they did the cakewalk, and whoever did the best walk ended up with the cake. I think that's a great people. You just can't ignore. That's a great people, that they're not going to let you take the joy, or as the song says, I ain't going to lay my religion down. They're not going to let the joy of my life be taken away from me. I think that's a great people. And we're hoping that youngsters such as yours and such as my institution and others, we're hoping that when they're reading their books, and they should read, we're hoping that they should take a moment to say, now, how did that happen? What does this mean? Because we couldn't be fools for over almost 300 years. You can't make a mistake for that long. It had to be something good and something right, because it couldn't be a mistake. It's illogical to be a mistake. It doesn't make sense.
That's a good segue to the next question. Your interview with James Baldwin is legendary. There's a moment in the conversation where Baldwin says, it's when you begin to realize all that, which is not easy, that you begin to break out the culture which produced you and discover the culture which really produced you. What really brought you to where you are today? Can you talk a little bit about the experiences that you feel shaped your writing and your unapologetic poetic expression?
Well, all I have is my voice. So my life has been on that level. I have to say, in all fairness to myself, it's easy because all I have are words. Other people are talented. I'm not tall, so I'm not LeBron James. I couldn't play basketball. I'm not, though I really love, and I watch them do it, the Williams sisters. I'm a big Venus fan. Everybody likes Serena, but I remember Venus was a little girl, and I would just go every place to watch her play because I thought, she doesn't have anybody cheering for her. They were calling her names and stuff. And I love that, but I don't have that. I can play a little tennis, but I don't have that talent. I'm not Jesse Norman. I can't sing, though I wish I could. I met Miss Price, Leontine Price, and I really just adore Miss Price. And I don't have those kind of talent. All I have is what I'm saying. And I'm not knocking it. I'm embarrassed, but all I have is my voice. And if that's all I have, it's what I give. And what the people that I have admired and the people that I grew up with, I grew up in the Baptist church, the people that I grew up with, they all gave what they had. And I mentioned that. That's why I like this poem so much. You give what you have to give. All I have are words. So I have to make sure that my words are as true and as honest as I can make them, as I understand them to be. I'm not trying to tell somebody something. I'm not trying to put anybody down particularly. I'm just trying to say, this is what I know, and this is what I have to give. And I hope it's useful. And if it's not, I understand.
Thank you. And thank you for that shout out to Mississippi. I'm a native Mississippian also.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
Oxford, of course, has a wonderful bookstore. And it's really funny that Oxford, Mississippi, where all of those evil people live, has one of the best bookstores in America. I don't know if you spent any time in Oxford.
I got my PhD at the University of Mississippi. You speaking of square books?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
I went down, I've done many book signings. And of course, you get a lot of crap from that. When you do people, I don't know why you're going there. Well, I didn't ask you. I hate an opinion. I'd say I have always hated an opinion. I still hate an opinion. If I wanted to know what you thought about what I was doing, I would ask you. And if I haven't asked, I really don't want to know. But I thought it was significant. I wanted to go. And right next door to Oxford Books, Right Square Books is a really wonderful restaurant. And there's a Black woman who cooks there. So I wanted to go. And I didn't want to be afraid of going to Mississippi.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know how to say, I didn't want to, I can't go, or they're going to hurt me or whatever. And of course, I went over to Money, Mississippi, and I had the great pleasure of going over, if you can call it pleasure, of going over to Hattiesburg. And there's just places that you have to say, I want to go. And of course, my good friend, and I worked with her until she passed, Margaret Walker. Margaret and I worked on books together. We did a conversation, we did some books together. And of course, Margaret lived, as you know, lives in Jackson, but she lived catty corner to Medgar Evers, and right around the corner actually from Alice. And when Alice was still married to, her first husband or whatever husband it is now. But whenever she was there, they were all right there together. So Margaret, by the way, is a good cook. And so Margaret and I would go down. My son is Margaret Walker's daughter's age. And we'd go down, we'd fly down, and I would cook with Margaret, and we would talk, and she'd tell you a lot of stories because she had a lot of stories to tell. And of course, For My People is one of the great poems of America. It is really, For My People is just a great poem, but Jubilee is a great poem also. But Margaret was always just a great person to be with. And her husband was a great guy. So I enjoyed being in their home and spending time with them, and that they would let me. And I lived in Cincinnati at that point, and she came up to Cincinnati. My mother met her, and Mommy was like, because Mommy had read her books, and it was like she came to my house, and Mommy cooked for her and everything. So it's really nice. Mississippi has produced, and eventually somebody like you perhaps will write a book on Mississippi, not just who they lynched and killed, but the beauty of our people who have come out of that. Because there's been some strong, wonderful people. Yeah.
As we conclude tonight, we want to thank you so very much, Ms. Giovanni. As always, you have made us think, laugh, as we're gleaning from all of the knowledge that you bestowed upon us. Prairie View A&M University is so fortunate to have you as its first writer in residence in the Toni Morrison writing program. We want to salute you now.
Thank you. And I'm so pleased to be there. And as I say, Toni was a good friend, and I know Prairie View, and I've been there before, but this was a wonderful opportunity. And I want to particularly thank Emma for inviting me, because there was never any question that when she said, we would like to have you, I think before she can tell you, before the sentence was finished, I said, I'll be there. I'm so sorry that the COVID has prevented me from spending more time there. And I will say again to your students, and I will be talking with them tomorrow also,
Yes.
You have to have some faith in your words, because for the most part, that's all you have. That's the first thing you have are your words. And so you want to use them, but you want to use them carefully. You don't want to waste your words on some fool. And it's one of the reasons, if I may, before we close out, that I like about Jesus, and I like a lot of things about him. But, he was in the middle on that cross. He was in the middle of two people. And the man on the right was a fool. And we all know that. You've read your Bible. And the man on the right said to Jesus, you say you God, but you're up here with the rest of us. And I really appreciated the fact that Jesus didn't waste his words on that fool. He turned around. No, he didn't. And everybody said Jesus loved everybody, but he didn't. And he turned to the man on the left. And the man on the left said to him, I believe that you are God. And he said, today you will be with me in heaven. And I like Jesus for that, because he reminds us, don't waste yourself on a fool. Talk to the people who love you.
Thank you so much. This concludes our program for tonight. I want to invite you to tune in tomorrow as we pay tribute to the incomparable Toni Morrison on the occasion of her birthday. Tomorrow's program, Praiseworthy Woman of Voice and Vision, will celebrate the rhythms in Toni Morrison's life through music, dance, and spoken word. Thank you for joining us, PV Nation, and we want to welcome you back to the Hill tomorrow for this programming. Thank you, Miss Giovanni, for joining us tonight. We love you.
Thank you.